So for those who are new to me or to this group or even to this concept of food peace and food freedom, my name is Brianna Wilkerson. I am a holistic health and life coach, really supporting women in ditching diets, losing weight that lasts, and thriving in their whole health and life. And recently, I really realized my sweet spot in all of that is really helping women find peace with food, feel confident in their bodies again, and really develop a healthy lifestyle that's more than about just how much they weigh. Because even though I'm about sustainable weight loss, even though I've helped a lot of women in that area, and that's a huge part of my story, I think when we start to see that our health and our well-being is way more than what that scale will say or will ever say, well, we start to find freedom, we start to have breakthroughs, particularly when we find peace with food and feel confident in our bodies again. And so that's what this Food Freedom Month, I guess, or this Food Freedom Challenge is all about, is about you finding peace with food, your body, and yourself. Because when you really do that deeper work of getting your mindset and your beliefs in the right place towards diets, the scale, food, your body, yourself, exercise, and your emotional health, I am telling you, the habits and the actions you will take from that point forward will be simple, they'll be sustainable, they'll be life-giving, and there'll be a whole lot more grace in the picture. And that's going to catapult you towards whatever goals you have for your health and yourself, okay? So just really excited to share on today's topic on 5 simple questions to help you finally find peace with food. Now, this is only kind of a small portion and one day of the 7-day challenge I will be hosting March 22nd to 28th here in the group, via email, and also in Member Vault. And so you're going to want to make sure you sign up for that challenge if you have not yet. I have been preparing for it this week, and I'm excited because all of the work I've done, next year is 5 years in business for me. Over the last 5 years, I feel, besides like the healthy habit stuff, which you guys know I talk about, but like the mindset and the deep inner mindset and belief and work, I believe this challenge will just address all of it. And so there's going to be a mini training each day. There's going to be questions to work through, as well as there's going to be a live session. And so the live sessions where I will go deeper into that day's topic, answer any questions, and kind of give you a little bit of like live coaching. So I mean, if I were to charge for this, it would be a lot just because it's my best stuff available to you. Because why? I want you to find peace with food. I want you to feel confident in your body again. I want you to develop a healthy lifestyle beyond your weight. Okay. So if you're joining me live or you're watching the replay, I would love to hear from you. This is about you. This isn't about me or anything else. This is about you. Where are you at with your journey with food? You know, food is a very emotionally charged thing for so many of us, but yet it's such a primitive thing. It's such a thing that we all need for centuries before us have needed to survive and nourish our bodies, right? Nutrition, Latin word for nourish. I don't know if it's exactly the Latin word, but that's what it means. It means to nourish, fuel, give our body the nutrients that it needs to survive. You know, when I had my daughter, 9 months ago, I just remember like them wanting, I think it's vitamin K to help with her blood, or there's like little things that, you know, you want to make sure you're paying attention to so that she gets the nourishment she needs to literally grow, gain weight, develop. And it's just so interesting because I think kids and babies have more of an intuitive approach to eating and food where they're hungry, so they eat. There's some days she definitely drinks milk all the time. But there's some days she doesn't eat other foods as much because she's not as hungry. But then there's some days she like devours it, right? And she moves her face when she's done eating. And so I just think we've lost that over the years for many of us because of the ways that food has been politicized. Let's just say that, the ways that foods has been, you know, just painted in a bad light, the way that we have connected food to our weight, our worth, our value, to diets, and to just a lot of things that it makes the food and healthy eating and nutritious part of our lives hard to navigate. It's murky waters. All right, so I want to kind of peel back the layers and ask, where did that murky water start? How can we get that water, that pool, clear? So you're able to kind of swim in it and you're able to kind of make the food choices that you love that you need, and it's going to develop you in kind of those words not necessarily develop, but really help you just grow, help you really start to give your body, your life, what the nutrients it needs, okay? And to stop being afraid of food. So where are you at? Where are you at in your food relationship journey? And I'm going to kind of frame it for you before I get to the questions in a few ways. So I believe that this is very general, but I believe often we can see food in 3 ways. And these 3 ways are, you might feel all 3 of them at one time, or maybe in the different situations you feel one more than the other. I think we often see food as a friend, a foe, or as fuel, right? So we often see food as a friend when we want it for comfort, when we want it to just give us, we run to it when there's a need in our lives, whether it's a physical, a mental, emotional need, or so forth, that's just not being met. And we go to food because literally most foods are designed to physiologically and mentally and biologically hit your brain in a certain way, make you feel good or not. We go to it for comfort. And I have an amazing podcast coming out with Dawn Walton next week talking about the brain science behind this stuff. So you're going to want to listen to the Sustainable Weight Loss podcast next week. But I'll make her go way more into it. But it's not your fault. And I just love she just says that in the podcast. It's not your fault. We think it's a matter of self-control and will, and maybe sometimes it is, but sometimes it's our body and our brains responding to things, often responding to a diet, because often what our bodies do when we go on a diet, it goes into feast or famine mode, where it says, okay, you're restricting it, so I'm going to hold on to everything. And when you actually eat again, I'm going to make you eat a lot because I want you to survive. Right? That's actually a physiological and a mental, neurological thing that's happening. That has nothing to do with your self-control. Okay. And so, just the idea of many of us go to food as a friend for comfort in a time. And it may not be a full-blown emotional eating session or comfort. What it may just be like, I've had a bad day. I just want a piece of chocolate. Okay. So if that's how you feel like you see food in this season of life, let us know. But also, if you feel like there's a certain situation where you see food as a friend, let us know in the comments, okay? And the next way is a foe. It's an enemy. And I think many of us often see food as an enemy when we feel large, like we feel large in our skin and our body, when we feel like we've gained weight, when we see the scale go up, particularly when we're on our period or something, because we just feel a little bit different. But we also see it as something that has we might say, you've caused this weight gain, you've caused this unhappiness. I can't trust myself around you. You're in control of me. So we see food as an enemy, something to be feared, something that we don't really feel we can ever find peace around. And again, this can be certain situations. It doesn't have to be all the time. But then what I want us to eventually shift to, and we might see food as fuel in some cases, like when you're literally hungry, you're like, I need to eat because my body is saying I need food, or I have a little bit of a headache because I haven't eaten much carbohydrates today. All food is fuel, particularly carbohydrates, but all food is fuel and nourishment for our body. And I want us to switch from seeing food as a friend to foe to seeing it as fuel. Now, does that mean you can't eat food when you want comfort? Does that mean you can't, whatever? No, nothing is wrong with that. But what I'm trying to say is when that gets in the way of you having a good relationship with food and understanding that food is your main source of fuel, then we have to change it. Okay. And so some of the reasons why we choose to eat or not to eat could be comfort, celebration, and craving nourishment. Often craving nourishment that has literally maybe our body's craving certain nutrients, maybe craving water, but also craving connection with others, craving peace at work. We just crave peace and nourishment in other areas of our life. The founders of IIN, which is the School Institute for Integrative Nutrition, talks about that primary food, what feeds us, is actually things that aren't on the plate. It's our career. It's our physical activity. It's our spirituality. It's our relationships. It's our relationships with money. It's our purpose. That's our calling. Like those things actually bring us more life than food. Well, physically, food brings us life. And so sometimes it may be there's a need that's not being met in another area of your life, and you're trying to solve that need with food. Okay. I haven't even got into the relationship that diets, how diets play into your relationship with food, your body, and all that. That's what the challenge is about. We're going to go through each one of those day by day. But the challenge is all about food freedom. The intensive that I'm offering is all about food freedom right now. And I think food is central, but we need to look at the other areas as well, which is what we'll do in the 7-day challenge, okay? Yeah, so if you resonate with any of that, when do you see food as a friend? When do you see food as a foe? When do you see food as fuel? Why do you make those decisions? Are you looking for comfort, nourishment, or just celebration? Hey guys, we celebrate around food. Birthday party, food. Super Bowl, food. Or celebration, you got a new promotion, food. There's nothing wrong with that. And actually, like biblically, I am a Christian. Like I was talking with someone the other day who, for their women's conference, they went through biblical theology of feasting. All of the times in the Bible where feasting was focused. And feasting and eating is very much a communal activity. It's something that brings us joy. That's something that we can experience, right? But if we have those poor views and those poor relationship with food, it's going to be hard to enjoy that, okay? And so 5 simple questions. They're simple, yet if you actually reflect on them, which I would love for you to do, you might not be able to reflect on all of them now, but take some time today, this weekend, to reflect on them and then use this comment in this video or the group to kind of process. These come directly from my Food Freedom Journal, which is the workbook for the challenge, okay? And so we will reflect on this a little bit more, and I'll dive deeper into this whole topic on day 3 of the challenge, but just wanted to kind of kick us off in this conversation. Okay. And if you're making any comments, I'll see you in a bit. I have not forgotten you. So the first question is, how would you describe how you view food? Which I've already asked, right? How would you describe how you view food? Friend, foe, or fuel? Just reflect on that after I kind of went through an explanation of that and then drop that in the comments, right? And if there are certain situations where you see it as a friend or a foe or a fuel, let us know. Like, for example, the holidays. You might see it as all 3, or you might see it more as a foe, like you're scared of overeating on the holidays or scared of what certain foods may do to your body or weight, right? Question number 2. Okay, so we asked, how would you describe your relationship with food, how you view food? Then the second question is, when did you start seeing food that way? And this causes us to think through and look back to why we view food for that particular situation. In my story, when I started healthy eating and just eating more nutritiously and exercising in high school, I would definitely say I was more of in a fuel atmosphere or view. But when there's a lot of changes that happened in my life, I lost control. I wanted to control my food intake. So I started to see food as a foe. Like, it's not something I can trust. It's going to make me gain weight. And that was started because I was actually kind of sad and depressed for the things going on. And I was just trying to deal with it through my relationship with food and exercise, which didn't solve anything. And because even though people notice, hey, Brianna, you're kind of getting too small, which I was for my body type. And they were just lovingly wanting to support me through it. Even when they recommended that I see a child psychologist, I was like, no, I'll just gain some weight. Everyone will be happy. But I never dealt with what was really going on. So the fast forward at the end of high school, where I was just overly stressed, trying to perform, find my worth again in my weight and my work. And I went to food for comfort. I saw it as a friend. And because I never dealt with what was going on really internally, it just switched. And food became now something that gave me comfort. I allowed myself foods that I deprived myself for so long. And I went to that feast mode versus famine mode because I was on a diet, basically. And then I let myself go off of it. And I gained back all that weight. And I just felt a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and a lot of like, why can't I have self-control when I used to? But literally, it was something that my body was doing because I'd literally probably starved it in a certain way for so long. It wanted more. And I also emotionally and mentally, it remembered that when I go to food for comfort, I feel good initially. All right, so I started seeing food that way, 11th, 12th grade, 15, 16-year-old, okay? And then I dealt with that for a while to the end of kind of midway through college, where just really reconnected with my faith, saw that my worth was in God and what his purpose was for me and not in my weight or my work. I just started to go on a healing journey and eventually really started to see food as fuel, which yes, led to sustainable weight loss, which yes, led to doing awesome fitness things I never thought I could do, and just peace with food and confidence in my body and developing a healthy lifestyle beyond my weight. But it took time, and it took me doing that deeper inner work. So that's just an example. That's when I started to see food that way. I would love for you to think through, when did you start to see food that way? Okay. Third question. This is very important. What foods are considered good foods and which ones are considered bad foods to you, and why? So there are certain foods that are not necessarily as advantageous to your physical nourishment, right? Or even to your mental nourishment. And so we've labeled them as bad foods. And every time you may find yourself eating one of those, you feel guilty or ashamed, especially when you told yourself you wouldn't eat it again. That's just not helping you find peace with food. It's not. Yes, there are certain foods you want to eat more of to give your body nourishment, to help you really feel good. But it's okay to enjoy another food you might not consider as more nutritious. I go through seasons where I take away certain foods for a while because I've been relying too much on them, or I've just been craving them, and I know I just need to give my body a lot of other good foods. But I do it with the intention of, like, I'm going to go back and eat that. Like, I'm doing a Whole30 right now. If you guys know me, I'm such a huge advocate of that for a lot of things. And we'll talk actually about this in the challenge. I've done it many times for different reasons, physically, emotionally, mentally. Right now, I'm doing it just because I was eating a little bit too much sugar, and I wanted to kind of go back to eating those and craving those good foods. I shouldn't say good foods, nourishing foods. But I'm done in a week, and I'm probably gonna have a brownie because I'm going on vacation next week, and I'm excited. I love brownies, right? But that's not necessarily a bad food to me. It's just not. I don't feel good when I constantly eat it. Okay. So just make a list of yourself. Just take a piece of paper, write good foods and bad foods, and ask yourself why you think it, not why I think it, not why professionals think it, why you think a certain good food is good or bad. All right, then question 4, what would it look like if you started to see food as something to nourish your body with instead of something to be scared of or run to when needing emotional support? Like, what would that practically look like for you? So basically, if you see food as a friend or foe, what would it practically look like for you to start thinking, believing, and acting like food is fuel? That may mean you're going to take charge of, like, planning your meals in advance and really making sure you're getting all the food you need, all the quantity, quality, and nutrients you need. And then, yeah, leaving a space for, if you want a certain food that you wouldn't normally eat or wouldn't want to eat on a normal basis, leaving space for that. But also giving yourself grace if for some reason you do run to food for emotional support, or you're scared of eating something, like processing that with someone, okay? Holly says she sees it as an enemy. Tell me more about that, Holly. Why do you particularly see food as a foe or enemy? I would love to process with that with you here, okay? Claire, you said something's not working. What's not working? Let me know, Claire, what's not working for you. Okay. Then question number 5, and I'll repeat all these for you. And again, this is in the Food Freedom Journal you'll get when you sign up for the challenge, okay? So don't worry about having to write all them all down if you don't want to, but feel free to as well. So then 5 is about taking action. Okay, so we did have some awareness around what, question 1, how would you describe your relationship with food, friend, foe, or fuel? Why do you start seeing that food that way, and when? What foods do you consider bad or good foods? What would it look like if you started seeing food as fuel, like practically in your life? And then 5, what's one thing you can do this week to start nourishing your body with those foods? Okay, with those foods that fuel it. So again, that may mean I'm going to make sure I eat veggies once a day. That may mean I'm going to really, instead of eating out this night I normally do, I'm going to cook a nourishing meal for myself, an at-home meal. It may mean I'm going to enjoy that piece of cheesecake, but instead of telling myself I'm going to go run right after or do an extra mile tomorrow, it may mean I'm going to say, you know what, I'm going to enjoy this, eat it mindfully, savor every bite, and that's it. I don't need any more, and I don't need to punish myself for eating it. right? So it totally depends on you, what you want to do for this one. And this is something I love helping clients with because it does depend on your situation. But again, if you reflect on some of these questions, I think you can find some clarity around it. So I'm going to repeat the questions to you. Feel free to, process it here in the comments. And then I will just check your comments there. And if there are any questions about anything, I will check them and answer them. But then I'm going to share a little bit more about the challenge and the one-on-one intensive I have. So how would you describe how you view food, friend, foe, or fuel? Question 2, when did you start seeing food that way? 3, what foods do you consider good and bad and why? 4, what would it look like for you to start seeing food as something to nourish your body instead of something to run away from or use for comfort? Like, what would that mentally look like, practically look like? And then 5, what's one thing you can actually do this week to start eating those foods that nourish your body? All right. So are there any thoughts or questions? Holly says, I have a, how do you say that, an ostomy bag, Crohn's disease, and out of control 2 diabetes. You're not a mess. There's just some health conditions, right? And so tell me, with all of that, do you feel like, Holly, like you can't eat certain foods, or maybe you can't, right? Crohn's and diabetes. Or are you scared of eating? Do you feel like you do eat and it makes those things worse? Let me know kind of how having those health conditions play into your relationship with food. This is really good. Thanks, guys, for sharing too. Okay, this is supposed to be a space for you to kind of get support here, right? You feel eating makes it worse. Now, Holly, are there certain foods that all eating makes it worse? Or yeah, I guess my question is, have you kind of done something where you know what foods help? Like you've gone through an experimentation phase where you know what foods help you and make you feel okay, and which foods don't? Or do you feel like all foods, even an apple, or like even certain foods make it worse? And as you're sharing that too, I'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. So when you do have, yes, all because of Crohn's. Okay, so when you do have certain health conditions, right, like Crohn's, or what you're saying, even type 2 diabetes, your body, it's an autoimmune condition, right? So your body is, it might be so confused that it's like recognizing all foods as bad. So that's very hard. It's very hard to want to eat. It's very hard to actually give your body the food it needs. I definitely recommend, if you probably have seen kind of like a functional health medical doctor or something like that. But I do recommend a process like what we call an elimination protocol, where you eliminate certain problematic foods, particularly ones around autoimmune conditions and gut health conditions, and eat a lot of the other ones that, it's all testing, because you someone else who has Crohn's and diabetes might do well with the food, might not. But really then adding in those foods back to see which ones affect you. So you said actually you've tried something like that, but it's so hard. Tell me about why it's hard. What do you mean by that? Do you mean it's just hard to like keep on track with that? Tell me a little bit about that. And whoever else is on, feel free to drop your comments below too, and I can answer your questions as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it's hard when you have pre-existing conditions to really find out what works for your body. It's no easy task. It takes time. It does take a little determination. It does take accountability. It can be really hard. Some days the food will not affect me. Other days the same food makes me sick. Yeah, so that's what's challenging, is understanding. Like, give me an example of one of those foods, Holly. That there could be other things that are happening on those days that make you sick. It could be a combination of foods. It could be, it could be multiple things. It could be I know particularly stress and cortisol and insulin for those hormones will impact our gut in a certain way, where certain days you eat that same food, but maybe something else is going on in your body or your mind, and your body is like responding by saying, get out of me. Kale, like, so example, kale is a very fibrous, rich in nutrients food, but it could be hard for you to digest in certain seasons, in certain times, right? So that may be it. It may be the combination of food, a recommendation. Oh, kale, cauliflower. So those are, cauliflower in particular is a cruciferous vegetable, right? And a lot of people that I've talked with and worked with who have digestive concerns, cauliflower is actually hard on their stomach. For me, I'm fine. But there are other people who have pre-existing things that could be hard, right? So it may be, Holly, that you're just not eating those for a certain time. Or is doing something such as like a food journal. This is something that a lot of clients find really powerful, is when you actually write down from an emotional and physical point of view, how you felt before you ate a certain food, how you felt after, emotionally and physically, particularly gastrointestinal, because that's going to kind of give you an indicator when you do that over time. Oh, and having someone else look at it. I love doing this with clients, like, oh, okay, I saw that when you ate this and when you were feeling stressed and you ate, say, for example, kale or cauliflower together, you just had to go to the bathroom or you just felt gassy and upset. But the next time when you were kind of like, just had a good day, it was fine. So that's just an example too. Claire, you have Crohn's too. How does that impact your food choices and your relationship with food, Claire? Raw foods often problematic. And yes, the reason why raw foods can be problematic is because it takes a lot for your body to digest them. And maybe with Crohn's, there's not a lot of, maybe you might need extra digestive enzymes, or maybe there's already some gut flora issues going on. And so knowing that for yourself, it's just that, okay, maybe you can't have those raw foods. Maybe you cook them. So it's very good that you know that. Yes, Holly, I actually have, I do offer, obviously reviewing the journal and stuff to my clients, but I do have a food journal and habits tracker, an online version that you can print totally, that I've created for my clients and what I use for them, that if you wanted, I don't forgot how much it's affordable price, but I'll put it here for you just so you know. If you want to check it out, I mean, you're totally welcome to create it yourself, right? But my food journal habit tracker, a lot of clients have found it to be very helpful. So it's a mini version of what I offer them. I think I just put it there for you below. It's my website, madewell345.com/habits tracker. You can check it out. Let me see, Claire, big challenge to figure out what's best. Yeah. And again, I think it going through a process of being aware of your food and tracking it emotionally and physically, as well as, one second, let me, my daughter is crying. I just want to tell my husband to pick her up. She just woke up from her nap. Yeah, so there, feel free to check out that tracker. But if you do, again, if you feel like you need someone to kind of walk you through that process of analyzing it, that's something I love to do with clients. Yeah, so feel free to continue. Guys, so great to join you and have you guys on today. But I just wanted to invite you to two things. You guys maybe already signed up for it, but I just want to let you know about it. So the first thing is the Food Freedom Challenge. I'm doing one March 22nd to 28th. First time I'm offering this challenge in this capacity. And I am just so excited because it's going to be a little mini training, a worksheet, and then a live Q&A every day around 12 or so. There might be a day or two I have to do it earlier or later to kind of unpack this even more. And each of the Facebook Lives is going to kind of pick one of the areas and go deeper into it. And so it's a free challenge, March 22nd to 28th. And so if this was helpful for you and you know a friend this may be helpful with, because they are struggling with a relationship with food, that because they have pre-existing health conditions, because you're just done with dieting, please share the link with them to sign up. Okay, I would love as many women as possible to do it as we're going through it live. Don't know when I'll be offering it again. So you can go to madewell345.com/food freedom challenge and sign up there. And once you sign up there, it enters you automatically into the welcome module, which I'll just explain a little bit more about the challenge, your prep work, and how the challenge will go. The next thing is as you all know, this is great. I love doing this in a group format, but a lot of my clients have seen a lot of change and transformation in one-on-one sessions. And so for those who are kind of going through the challenge, for my community, I'm offering a special discount because it also is my business birthday month on my Food Freedom Intensive. This is a 90-minute session where basically the things we talk about in the challenge we'll dive deeper into and customize it for you and your individual concerns. If you have a pre-existing health condition, or if something else is going on, you have a crazy busy work schedule and you work nights, or you work, and you feel like that impacts your relationship with food, we're going to really help you figure out a mindset and habits plan. So looking at how you think about it, what you believe, what you say, to actually practically how you can transform your relationship with food so you can have that food freedom that you long for. This session is, I think it's 15% off for this month. And I only have a few spots available. And so that's why I wanted to let people know about it from early versus waiting to the end of the challenge. And so you can really just see if it's a great fit for you. And so don't decide now. Well, the best way to decide and see if that's for you is let's just hop on a call. My calls are, we do them on the phone. They're no pressure, but really help guiding you, saying, this is what I'm struggling with in my relationship with food, my body, myself. And then I share, this is exactly how I can help you in this 90-minute session. Or maybe I have a couple spots open for my 6-month program. Maybe we know that it's going to take a while. So definitely book that clarity call this month so we can talk about it. It's, again, free call, no pressure. It's just to help you get clear if this is a great fit for you, this Food Freedom Intensive. So go to madewell345.com/clarity to book that call. If you can't find a time that works in my calendar, just feel free to message me and say, hey, I can, in your calendar, sorry, there's no spaces, we can customize a time. So the links to both of these are, above here, above the title of this video, or if you're watching this somewhere else on YouTube, it's below. Sign up for the challenge and also book that clarity call. And feel free to message me if you have any questions about any of that, okay? So it was great hanging out with you guys. Can't wait. Oh, yep, you're in the challenge. Great, Holly. Excited to go journey with you. Next week, Thursday, I will be jumping in to talk about feeling confident in our bodies again around 12. But then the week after that is the 7-day challenge. And so I'm so excited and grateful for you guys, grateful for you allowing me to lead you, and can't wait to support you. All right, reach out if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you later.